7 signs that someone dislikes you and is hiding it. Stoic philosophy. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Let's be honest. In life, not everyone will be brave enough to admit they don't like you. Instead, they'll hide behind fake smiles, half-hearted compliments, and superficial kindness. I've been there myself, thinking someone had my back, only to find out they were secretly hoping for my failure. It's a tough pill to swallow, but here's the hard truth. If you can't recognize the signs, you'll waste your time and energy on people who will never truly understand or respect you. So today, we're going to dive deep into this uncomfortable reality and uncover the 7 subtle signs that someone dislikes you but is hiding it. These signs can be easy to miss, but learning to spot them will save you from investing in the wrong relationships. You might not like everything you hear, but it's better to confront the truth now than to live in denial and let it chip away at your peace of mind. Stick with me as we explore these warning signs and learn how to protect your inner peace and self-respect. Welcome to Stoic in Your Life. If you're ready for more insights into Stoic philosophy and personal growth, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Number 1. They're always joking about your flaws. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Marcus Aurelius. This timeless Stoic principle sets the stage for today's topic. Understanding when someone dislikes you but hides it behind a veil of subtle behaviors. One of the most common signs is when someone is always joking about your flaws. At first glance, these jokes might seem harmless, maybe even playful. You might laugh along, thinking it's all in good fun. But over time, these seemingly lighthearted comments start to feel more like constant digs at your character, a way to chip away at your self-confidence without coming off as blatantly rude. In my own experience, I've seen how this dynamic plays out. Friends who, on the surface, seemed supportive but who would never miss a chance to make a joke about my shortcomings. They'd always have something to say about the way I dressed, spoke, or even the projects I was working on. At first, I thought it was just part of friendly banter, but eventually I started to notice a pattern. The jokes were always focused on my perceived weaknesses, never on my strengths. It wasn't long before I began questioning myself, wondering if these flaws they pointed out were really as glaring as they made them seem. And this is where the importance of recognizing these signs comes in. People who joke about your flaws aren't doing it out of love or affection. They're testing how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a subtle power play, a form of manipulation where they try to assert their dominance over you while keeping you in your place. By constantly pointing out your imperfections, they're telling you that you're beneath them. Worse, society has conditioned us to believe that if we can't take a joke, then we are the ones with the problem. But here's the Stoic truth. Just because someone masks their criticism in humor doesn't mean you should accept it. Seneca once said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." This doesn't just apply to material possessions, but also to how much negativity and disrespect we allow into our lives. You deserve to be around people who lift you up, not those who bring you down with sarcastic remarks disguised as humor. In modern life, especially in social and work environments, these passive-aggressive jokes can seem like the norm. Maybe you've been in meetings where a colleague always makes a snide remark about your contributions, or in social circles where a friend never misses a chance to tease you about something that hits a little too close to home. These aren't just harmless jokes. They're calculated digs meant to undermine your self-esteem. It's important to remember that true friends don't feel the need to knock you down to feel better about themselves. If you find yourself constantly being the punchline, it's time to take a step back and assess the relationship. Let's take another example. Have you ever noticed how some people only joke about your flaws and never your strengths? It's no coincidence. Their jokes are carefully aimed at making you second-guess yourself, at keeping you from realizing your full potential. They want you to stay exactly where you are, beneath them. This is a manipulation tactic that many people use without even realizing it. Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This means that while you may not control how others behave, you have full control over how you respond to it. You don't have to laugh along with every joke made at your expense. Instead, stand up for yourself and establish boundaries. Let others know that while you enjoy humor, you won't accept disrespect, even when it's disguised as a joke. In the workplace, this can be even more complicated. There may be someone who uses humor to undermine your authority or question your abilities, all under the guise of "just kidding." These jokes may start small, but over time, they can wear you down, making you question your skills and even your value in the team. The more you let these comments slide, the more empowered the other person feels to continue. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your response to these situations can either embolden the person making the jokes or signal to them that you won't tolerate such behavior. In friendships and relationships, the same principle applies. If someone is constantly joking about your flaws, they are subtly undermining your confidence, and over time, this can erode the foundation of trust and mutual respect that should be the core of any meaningful relationship. The lesson here is clear. Stop letting others define your self-worth with their so-called humor. It's one thing to engage in playful banter with friends, but when the jokes always seem to target your insecurities, it's time to ask yourself whether this relationship is truly beneficial for you. As the great philosopher Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This means recognizing when someone's behavior, no matter how subtle, is harming you and having the courage to confront it. True growth, both personal and professional, comes from surrounding yourself with people who respect and support you, not those who belittle you under the guise of humor. Ultimately, it's about choosing to align yourself with people who uplift you. Life is too short to spend your time with those who can't see your value or respect your boundaries. If someone's form of friendship is to constantly point out your flaws, you owe it to yourself to walk away. Because at the end of the day, true friends don't need to bring you down to make themselves feel better. They celebrate your successes and help you grow through your challenges. As you navigate your relationships, remember these wise words from Epictetus. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Apply this mindset to your social circle. Seek fewer relationships where disrespect is hidden behind laughter, and more where mutual respect and support are the foundation. The jokes that seem harmless on the surface can have a deep impact on how you see yourself if you allow them to. Always remember, you have the power to define how others treat you. The next time someone makes a joke at your expense, pause and ask yourself whether it's truly coming from a place of love, or if there's something more sinister at play. If it's the latter, don't be afraid to set boundaries and, if necessary, walk away. As the Stoics teach us, our peace of mind is our greatest possession, and we must guard it fiercely. So stay vigilant, stay strong, and always prioritize your mental and emotional well-being over the fake smiles and hollow compliments of those who don't have your best interests at heart. Number 2, they give compliments that sting like insults. Let's talk about those compliments that don't feel quite right, the ones that seem sweet on the surface but leave you questioning yourself afterward. This is one of the subtle signs that someone dislikes you but is hiding it, and it's often overlooked because it's wrapped in what seems like praise. These compliments sting like insults. They sound something like, "That's actually a pretty good idea for someone like you," or "You look great for your age." It's the kind of remark that makes you pause and wonder if you've just been complimented or insulted. And often, it's a mix of both. People who give these backhanded compliments are not just being nice. They're subtly putting you down while pretending to lift you up. In modern life, we see this behavior everywhere, from work environments to friendships, even in family settings. Perhaps you've been in a meeting, proud of a project you've worked hard on, only to have someone say, "Wow, this is better than I expected considering your experience." That statement immediately makes you feel like you weren't expected to achieve much in the first place. It's a psychological tactic that can slowly erode your confidence if you're not careful. Think about it. How often have you received a compliment that felt more like a hidden jab? This is a subtle form of manipulation that people use to keep you in check, to make sure you don't rise too high in their perception. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." This quote reminds us that the opinions of others, especially those veiled in negativity, shouldn't define our worth. People who give these kinds of compliments often feel insecure themselves, and they mask their discomfort by undermining your accomplishments or qualities. Their words are crafted to sound positive, but are actually designed to make you doubt yourself. They don't want to confront their own inadequacies, so instead, they try to keep you second-guessing your abilities. This happens in everyday life far more often than we realize, whether it's at work when a colleague gives you a compliment that's really a way to remind you of your supposed inferiority, or even in social situations where someone tries to make themselves feel better by undercutting your success. For example, I remember working on a project that I had poured my heart into. After weeks of preparation, I finally presented it to a group of colleagues feeling proud of what I had accomplished. One of them smiled and said, "This is pretty good, for someone with your background." It was as if they were complimenting me on a curve, implying that because of my background I wasn't expected to do well, and I had just exceeded those low expectations. That's the catch with backhanded compliments. They aren't designed to make you feel good, they're designed to remind you of your supposed limitations. Have you ever experienced something similar? How did it make you feel? Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." In moments like these, it takes courage to not let those disguised insults define you. It takes strength to realize that these compliments say more about the person giving them than about you. When someone says something like, "You're smarter than you look," or "That's impressive, considering you're new to this," it's not about you. It's about them. They're projecting their own insecurities onto you, trying to feel superior while keeping you at a lower level. In modern life, especially in social media or work culture, these kinds of compliments are rampant. People feel the need to one-up each other or diminish someone else's success to feel secure on their own. But here's the truth. You don't have to accept those backhanded compliments. You can call them out for what they are, even if it makes things uncomfortable. For example, the next time someone gives you one of these compliments, you could respond with, "Thank you, but what do you mean by that?" This not only forces them to confront the insult hidden in their words, but also shows them that you're not playing their game. It shifts the power dynamic and makes them aware that you're fully conscious of their subtle attack. This approach is in line with Stoic philosophy, which teaches us to take control of our own reactions and not allow others to dictate how we feel about ourselves. In today's fast-paced, competitive world, these backhanded compliments can feel like they're just part of life. Maybe your boss says, "You did well on that report, considering you didn't have much guidance," or a friend remarks, "I didn't think you'd be able to handle that situation so well." These statements, although seemingly positive, leave a lingering feeling of inadequacy. They are subtle reminders that, in the eyes of the speaker, you are not expected to succeed or thrive. But here's where you need to step in and recognize the truth. These remarks reflect the limitations of the person giving them, not of you. In Stoicism, we are taught to focus on what we can control: our actions, our mindset, and our responses. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When someone gives you a compliment that stings, choose to rise above it. Recognize it for what it is, and don't let it affect your sense of self-worth. One powerful way to handle these situations is by using them as a mirror to reflect on your own growth. Instead of internalizing the hidden insult, see it as an opportunity to reaffirm your confidence. If someone says, "That's great, considering you've never done this before," remind yourself that your value doesn't depend on their approval. You are capable, you are worthy, and their perception of you doesn't change that. In fact, Their need to make you feel less than may even signal that they see your potential and feel threatened by it. So, ask yourself, how do you handle these moments of disguised negativity? Do you let them drag you down, or do you stand firm in your own value? At the end of the day, life is too short to let other people's veiled insults affect your peace of mind. As we navigate through relationships, work environments, and social circles, it's essential to remember that true compliments should lift you up, not tear you down. The next time you receive a compliment that leaves you feeling worse rather than better, take a moment to reflect on the intention behind the words. Was it really meant to uplift? Or was it a subtle attempt to keep you in your place? The more you recognize these disguised insults, the easier it becomes to deflect them and maintain your self-worth. Don't let anyone's insecurity or need for superiority define how you see yourself. You are in control of your own narrative. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Not all compliments are meant to be flattering. Some are carefully disguised insults designed to keep you from reaching your full potential. It's up to you to recognize these subtle attacks and rise above them. By doing so, you not only protect your self-worth, but also set boundaries that prevent others from undermining your confidence. Remember the wisdom of the Stoics. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Let that strength guide you as you navigate through life, refusing to accept any compliment that comes with a sting. Your value is not determined by what others think of you, but by how you choose to see yourself. Keep that in mind, and you'll find that the opinions of others will no longer have the power to shake you. Number 3. They subtly exclude you from plans. Let's talk about a subtle but significant sign that someone might dislike you, and it's one of the most painful: being excluded from plans. It's something that's often brushed off as accidental, but when it happens over and over again, it's hard not to notice. Maybe you've been there, checking your phone and seeing photos or hearing stories of a group of friends having a great time at a dinner, a party, or a weekend getaway you weren't invited to. When you casually bring it up later, they say, "Oh, it was last minute," or "We thought you were busy." But deep down, you know the truth. If they wanted you there, they would have made sure you knew about it. This kind of social exclusion isn't just thoughtlessness, it's a deliberate choice, and it's a way for them to send a message without saying anything at all. It's one of the clearest signs that you're not as valued as you might have thought. And it stings because it's done quietly, leaving you to question your worth in their eyes. Now, I'm sure you've experienced something like this at some point. And maybe, like me, you've tried to brush it off, telling yourself that it was just a mistake or that they didn't mean to leave you out. But let's face it, if it keeps happening, it's not a mistake. It's a choice. The truth is, people who care about you make an effort to include you no matter how last minute the plans are. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for some people to conveniently forget to invite you, yet they always seem to remember to include others? That's not an oversight. It's intentional. When someone is subtly excluding you from their plans, they're making it clear that you don't matter as much to them as others do. And here's where it gets tough. Because this kind of exclusion is passive-aggressive, it's easy to dismiss it and make excuses for them. But the reality is that these actions speak louder than words. Think about it for a moment. If you were important to them, wouldn't they make sure you were included? This isn't about making excuses for their behavior, but about recognizing the truth for what it is. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This quote reminds us that we don't need to justify the actions of others or try to fit ourselves into places where we're clearly not wanted. We should focus on surrounding ourselves with people who value us and treat us with respect. Exclusion, whether subtle or not, is a form of rejection, and it's crucial to recognize it before it erodes your self-worth. When it comes to modern life, especially in today's fast-paced world filled with social media, this type of exclusion is even more common. Maybe you've seen friends post pictures of a fun night out, and you wonder why you weren't invited. Or perhaps you've been the one who wasn't informed about a big event that everyone else seemed to know about. It's in these moments that we must remember the importance of self-respect. People who truly care about you don't forget to include you. They make sure you know you're welcome. Have you ever asked yourself why you keep making excuses for people who constantly leave you out? Why do we allow ourselves to believe that these actions are unintentional when they clearly aren't? The Stoics teach us that our peace of mind is more valuable than any friendship that causes us pain. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that while you can't control whether someone includes you in their plans, you can control how you let it affect you. Instead of feeling hurt and questioning your worth, take it as a sign that maybe this relationship isn't as strong as you thought, and that's okay. Not everyone in your life is meant to stay, and that's a hard truth to accept. But once you do, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who truly appreciate your presence and make the effort to include you in their lives. Here's the thing. Allowing yourself to be repeatedly excluded isn't just about them, it's about you. It's about the standards you set for how people treat you. If you keep accepting these excuses, if you keep pretending that it doesn't bother you, then you're giving them permission to continue treating you as an afterthought. Have you ever confronted someone about being left out, only to have them brush it off and act like it wasn't a big deal? This is where you need to ask yourself if that relationship is really worth holding on to. Why stay in the company of people who don't see your value? The modern world often teaches us that it's better to keep quiet, to avoid conflict, and to not make waves. But the Stoic approach is different. It teaches us that it's better to confront uncomfortable truths than to live in quiet denial. If you keep allowing others to exclude you without addressing it, you're slowly letting them decide your place in their lives. Instead, take control of your own narrative. You deserve to be around people who want you in their lives, not those who only invite you when it's convenient or when they have no other options. One powerful story I've encountered is of a man who consistently found himself being left out by his group of friends. Time and again, they'd go out, attend events, or plan weekend trips without informing him. For a long time, he stayed quiet, convincing himself that it wasn't a big deal. But eventually he realized that these so-called friends were making a clear statement by their actions. They didn't value him as much as he thought they did, so he did something many people fear. He called them out on it. He simply asked, "Why wasn't I invited?" The answers were awkward and defensive, but it opened his eyes to the reality of his relationships. He learned that by confronting the issue head-on, he gained clarity and was able to move forward, investing his time in friendships that were mutual and respectful. So here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Are you surrounding yourself with people who make you feel valued? Or are you allowing yourself to be excluded, making excuses for others while ignoring your own feelings? It's important to recognize that being left out isn't just about missing an event or a gathering. It's about how much effort people are willing to make to include you in their lives. True friends will always make sure you feel included, even if it's last minute or unplanned. They'll reach out because they care. So, if you find yourself constantly on the outside looking in, it's time to reevaluate those relationships. At the end of the day, life is too short to spend it with people who make you feel like an afterthought. As you continue to grow and develop your understanding of yourself and those around you, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, who see your worth, and who actively choose to include you in their lives. Don't settle for relationships where you're only invited when it's convenient. You deserve better than that. By recognizing the signs of exclusion and addressing them, you take control of your own happiness. As Seneca wisely said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Part of that learning process is understanding who truly values you and who doesn't, and having the courage to act on that knowledge. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next part, I want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you. It's an absolute pleasure to have you as part of our growing community. Whether you're new here or have been with us for a while, I encourage you to share your story, your thoughts, or personal impressions in the comments below. If you're not sure what to say, that's okay too. You can simply comment, "I am a newbie" if you've just joined us, or "I am Stoic" if you've been following along with us for a while. Your engagement means so much to us and serves as a tremendous source of motivation to continue creating content that resonates with you. All right, let's continue this journey of growth and wisdom together, shall we? Number 4. They're busy only when it comes to you. Time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. Theophrastus. This quote resonates when you think about one of the clearest signs that someone dislikes you. They're always busy, but only when it comes to you. Have you ever reached out to a friend or someone you care about, suggesting to catch up, and their response is, "I'd love to, but I'm just so busy"? You think, fair enough, life is hectic. But over time you notice a pattern. They always seem to have time for other people, going out with mutual friends, attending events, or posting photos of their free time on social media, yet somehow, they're constantly too swamped when it comes to spending time with you. This isn't just about them being busy, it's about priorities. People make time for the things and people they care about. When someone is always too busy for you, it's a strong sign that you're not a priority in their life. Now, we all know that modern life is demanding. With work, family, and personal commitments, people often struggle to balance everything. But that's exactly the point. We prioritize what and who is important to us. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In this case, the thoughts of those who continually brush you off are clear. They're not putting you first, and it's time to recognize that. Being busy isn't an excuse when someone truly cares. If they can make time for others but not for you, that's a reflection of how they value the relationship. It's tough to swallow, but it's better to face this reality than to continue fooling yourself into thinking they're just overbooked. When someone is too busy for you repeatedly, it sends a message. It's their way of keeping you at a distance without having to confront the truth. This type of behavior is often passive-aggressive, and it's designed to leave you hanging, wondering what went wrong, when in reality, nothing has changed except how much they value your presence. In modern friendships and relationships, this is one of the clearest signs of disinterest. People will make time for what they prioritize, and if you're not on that list, it's time to step back and reassess where you stand in their life. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone seemed to always be too busy, for you but not for others? Did it make you question the relationship? And how long did you let it go before realizing what was happening? The Stoics teach us that we cannot control others, only our reactions to their behavior. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Instead of feeling frustrated or hurt by their constant excuses, use this moment to shift your perspective. You don't need to chase after someone's attention if they are not willing to make time for you. The real lesson here is that you deserve better. Your time is valuable, and it should be spent with people who genuinely appreciate and respect you. If they're constantly too busy, it's time to respect yourself enough to stop investing in them. In today's world, we often get caught up in the illusion of being busy. We wear it like a badge of honor, as if the busier we are, the more important we must be. But in reality, this busyness can sometimes serve as a mask for avoidance. By claiming they are too busy, people avoid the uncomfortable conversations or decisions they should be making. When someone repeatedly tells you they're swamped, yet they're always free for others, you have to question why they're choosing to avoid you. It's a subtle way of pushing you away without having to say it outright, and unfortunately, it's a tactic used by many people who lack the courage to face a relationship's changing dynamics. But here's where your power lies. You don't have to wait around for them to realize your value. You can take control by deciding to stop putting in the effort with someone who won't do the same for you. When I think about this issue, I'm reminded of a friend who constantly made plans with others but somehow never had the time when I reached out. It took a while for me to see the pattern, but once I did, it became clear. The excuses always came. Work was crazy. Family commitments were overwhelming. They were just too exhausted this week. but then I'd see photos of them out with other friends, attending events, or simply enjoying their time. It wasn't about them being busy. It was about them not prioritizing me. And that realization hit hard, but it also brought clarity. Why should I keep investing in someone who wouldn't do the same for me? So here's a question. Are you finding yourself constantly waiting for someone to make time for you? If so, it might be time to rethink the relationship. Ask yourself if this person is truly worth your energy, or if you're just holding on to the idea of who they used to be in your life. Sometimes we stay connected to people out of nostalgia, not because the relationship is still healthy or mutually beneficial. The Stoic approach to this is simple. Focus on what is in your control. You can't make someone care or prioritize you, but you can decide how much time and effort you're willing to give them. As Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Surround yourself with those who value your presence and reciprocate your energy, not those who leave you feeling like an afterthought. If you're constantly hearing, "I'm too busy," remember that it's not your responsibility to keep chasing someone who doesn't make time for you. Life is too short to spend it waiting for people who don't value your time. Think about your own priorities and how you spend your days. Do you make time for the people who matter to you? Or do you find yourself using busyness as an excuse to avoid certain situations? This reflection can help you understand the dynamics in your relationships and ensure that you're not guilty of the same behavior. At the end of the day, being busy is not a valid excuse when it comes to meaningful relationships. People who truly care about you will find a way to include you in their lives, no matter how hectic things get. The next time someone tells you they're too busy, take a step back and consider whether they're genuinely overextended or if they're subtly telling you that you're not a priority. Once you see the pattern, it's up to you to decide whether to confront the issue or let go of the relationship entirely. Either way, remember that your time is valuable and it should be spent with people who genuinely want to be a part of your life. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value ourselves and not to seek validation from others. When someone keeps making excuses, take it as a sign to refocus your energy on those who truly matter. Don't waste your time waiting for someone who is too busy for you. Use that time to strengthen the connections with those who truly appreciate your presence. Number 5. They avoid physical contact like the plague. Physical contact is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to connect with others, and when someone avoids it with you, it speaks volumes. Let's be clear. Physical touch is a basic form of human interaction, whether it's a handshake, a pat on the back, or a simple hug. It's a way we signal trust, warmth, and connection. But what does it mean when someone goes out of their way to avoid even the smallest forms of physical contact? This avoidance is more than just a personal quirk. It's a clear indication that they feel uncomfortable around you. And while we all have different comfort levels with touch, there's a noticeable difference when someone deliberately avoids contact with just you, yet seems perfectly fine with everyone else. It's not just about their personal preferences. It's about how they feel toward you. Have you ever tried to greet someone with a handshake or a hug, only to feel them pull away or awkwardly recoil? That instant awkwardness you felt wasn't just in your head. It was a signal that they weren't interested in getting closer, either physically or emotionally. This avoidance of physical contact can manifest in everyday life in subtle ways. You might notice that a colleague who is warm and friendly with others becomes stiff or distant when you're around. Or maybe you've experienced this in a social setting where friends are comfortable hugging everyone except for you. At first, it's easy to brush off. Maybe you tell yourself, they're just not the touchy-feely type. But then you start seeing the pattern. They're fine with everyone else, but when it comes to you, they keep their distance. This is a form of silent communication, a way for them to express their discomfort or dislike without saying a word. The Stoics believe that actions speak louder than words, and in this case, their avoidance is speaking clearly. Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." And in this case, recognizing the avoidance of physical contact gives you the power to respond thoughtfully, rather than letting it chip away at your self-worth. Now, you might be wondering, why does physical contact matter so much? In modern life, we've seen how physical interactions, even casual ones, build trust and rapport. Think about handshakes during job interviews, friendly hugs with loved ones, or even a simple high five. These gestures create connections, reinforce bonds, and convey warmth. So when someone avoids these interactions with you, they're sending a message, consciously or unconsciously, that they're uncomfortable with your presence. It's a subtle but powerful signal that shouldn't be ignored. The philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But in this case, the reality is clear. Avoiding physical contact is a sign of discomfort or even hidden resentment. Have you ever been in a situation where you reached out for a handshake, only for the other person to make it awkward? How did that make you feel, and did it change your perspective on that relationship? It's important to acknowledge that not everyone is naturally inclined toward physical touch. Some people simply don't like being touched, and that's perfectly okay. But when someone avoids touching only you, while being perfectly comfortable with others, that's a red flag. It's like they're setting up an invisible barrier telling you, "I don't want you in my personal space." And in many cases, this barrier extends beyond just physical avoidance. It often represents an emotional distance as well. They're keeping you at arm's length, both literally and figuratively. This can happen in any type of relationship, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or even a romantic partner. Over time, the avoidance becomes more noticeable and can leave you feeling confused or rejected, especially if the person continues to be physically affectionate with others. I remember a time when I had a colleague who would regularly shake hands with others and even engage in friendly backslaps or shoulder pats. But with me, they would noticeably back away when I extended my hand. It didn't take long for me to realize that this was more than just a lack of enthusiasm for physical contact. It was a sign that they didn't feel comfortable around me. It was a tough realization, but once I acknowledged it, I stopped taking it personally and understood that this behavior was more about them than about me. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and in this case, I chose to stop seeking validation through physical gestures and instead focused on maintaining professionalism and respect, despite the coldness from the other side. In relationships, especially romantic ones, physical contact is even more crucial. It's a way we express love, trust, and affection. When someone avoids touching you, it often signals a deeper issue, such as emotional disconnection or unresolved tension. If you're in a relationship where your partner avoids physical touch, it's essential to address this directly. Ask yourself, what's changed, and how can I communicate better about this? The avoidance of touch can be a sign of unresolved conflicts, a shift in feelings, or simply a growing emotional gap that needs to be addressed. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius advised, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And this applies to relationships as well. If you're constantly worrying about why someone is avoiding touch, it's time to have an honest conversation and clarify what's really going on. So, what's the lesson here? When someone avoids physical contact with you, they're sending a message even if they don't realize it. It could be discomfort, dislike, or a deeper emotional issue, but it's crucial to recognize and not dismiss these signs. As the Stoics taught, it's not about controlling the actions of others, but about understanding how to respond wisely. If you notice someone constantly avoiding physical contact with you but not others, it's time to evaluate the relationship. Ask yourself if this is a pattern, and if so, consider having an open conversation to address it. Don't let the avoidance make you feel less valued. Instead, recognize that this is a signal for you to either address the underlying issue or perhaps distance yourself from relationships that aren't reciprocal. The way someone responds to physical contact, or avoids it, tells you a lot about how they view you. Life is too short to chase after connections where you're met with resistance or discomfort. As Seneca reminds us, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Surround yourself with those who are comfortable in your presence, who don't shy away from connection, and who make you feel valued both emotionally and physically. If you're constantly met with avoidance, take it as a sign that it's time to reassess that relationship and decide whether it's worth your energy. Number 6. They disappear when you need support. Let's be honest, one of the clearest signs that someone dislikes you, or at the very least, doesn't truly value your relationship, is when they disappear when you need them the most. We've all been there, going through a rough patch, dealing with a personal crisis, or just needing a friend to lean on, and somehow, those people who once seemed close are suddenly unavailable. They have every excuse ready. "I've been busy," "I meant to call you," or "Things have been crazy lately." But in reality, when things get tough, they choose not to be there for you. And that hurts because, as human beings, we naturally rely on those we care about during difficult times. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood." But when someone avoids you during moments of need, they're showing a lack of understanding, empathy, and emotional connection. And that's when you must start questioning the true nature of your relationship. In modern life, we all have obligations, work, family, personal responsibilities. But true friends, the ones who genuinely care, make time for you, even when it's inconvenient. It's not about them always having the perfect solution to your problem. Sometimes it's just about their presence, showing up, or even just a quick message to say, "I'm here if you need me." When someone is consistently absent during your lowest points, it reveals a lot about how they view the relationship. Have you ever had a moment where you needed support, only to find out that those you thought were your closest friends were nowhere to be found? That's not just a mistake or a coincidence. That's a pattern. And patterns, especially ones like these, are red flags. The Stoics taught us that we cannot control the actions of others, only how we react to them. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this case, instead of feeling hurt and abandoned, it's important to shift your perspective. If someone repeatedly disappears when you need support, it's time to acknowledge the truth. They are not a friend who deserves your trust or energy. Their absence speaks louder than any excuse they can give, and continuing to chase after their attention or understanding only diminishes your own self-respect. You must take control of your response to this behavior. Why waste emotional energy on people who are only there during the good times but vanish the moment life gets hard? Consider this. How many times have you been there for someone when they were struggling? How often have you shown up, made time, and been the friend you wish to have in return? It's likely more than you can count. And when we invest that kind of energy into relationships, it's only natural to expect some level of reciprocity. But when that doesn't happen, when people fail to reciprocate, it's a sign that the relationship is one-sided. You're giving more than you're receiving, and over time, that imbalance takes a toll. It's exhausting to be the one always offering support, but never receiving it in return. So, ask yourself, are you surrounding yourself with people who would be there for you? Or are you investing time and emotional energy in those who disappear when things get tough? A friend of mine went through a particularly challenging period in his life. He had been there for his friends through countless crises, offering his time, advice, and a shoulder to lean on. But when he found himself in need, when he was going through a personal crisis that shook him to his core, he noticed something alarming. His phone was silent. The same people he had supported were nowhere to be found. They weren't there to listen, offer a kind word, or even check in. And that was a wake-up call for him. It forced him to reevaluate who he considered true friends and who was just there for convenience. And that's the key point. Friendships built on convenience crumble when faced with real challenges. This brings us back to one of the core teachings of Stoicism, self-reliance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If you're constantly focusing on the disappointment of others not being there for you, it can lead to frustration, sadness, and feelings of abandonment. But when you shift your mindset to one of self-reliance, understanding that not everyone is capable or willing to provide the support you need. You free yourself from those emotional chains. You begin to understand that your happiness and peace of mind aren't dependent on others showing up for you, but on how you show up for yourself. You realize that it's better to have a few genuine connections than to surround yourself with many people who disappear when times get tough. So what can you do when you realize someone constantly disappears when you need support? First, stop chasing after them. You don't need to beg for someone's time or attention. Second, evaluate whether that relationship is truly worth holding on to. If someone isn't there for you when it matters most, are they really adding value to your life? Third, invest your time in relationships that are reciprocal, those where support, understanding, and care flow both ways. There's a Stoic lesson in all of this. It's not about the number of people in your life, but the quality of those relationships. True friendships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and support. If someone disappears when you're in need, they've shown you their priorities, and unfortunately, you're not one of them. Think about your current relationships. Are there people in your life who only seem to be around for the good times? Do they suddenly become scarce when you're struggling? It's easy to make excuses for them, to justify their behavior by saying they're busy or overwhelmed. But deep down, you know that people make time for those who matter to them. If they're consistently unavailable when you need them, it's not about their busy schedule. It's about where you stand in their life. And that realization, while painful, is crucial for your growth and well-being. At the end of the day, you deserve relationships where support isn't conditional. You deserve friends who will be there, not just when things are fun and easy, but also when life gets messy and hard. So the next time you notice someone disappearing when you need support, take it as a sign. A sign that maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop investing so much energy into that relationship and instead focus on the people who truly show up for you. As Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, who support you in times of need, and who genuinely care about your well-being. Life is too short to invest in fair-weather friendships. If you've made it this far, you're truly in tune with Stoic wisdom. Drop a comment saying, "I see the signs," to show you're committed to understanding and improving your relationships. Stick around. The journey to a stronger, more resilient you is just beginning. Number 7. They gossip about you behind your back. Character is destiny, said Heraclitus, and it's a sentiment that becomes painfully clear when we consider the impact of gossip. One of the most harmful signs that someone dislikes you but hides it is when they gossip about you behind your back. It's a betrayal that stings deeply because gossip is rarely about the truth. It's about manipulating perceptions, tearing down reputations, and spreading negativity in the shadows. You might have felt this before. Someone you trusted or thought highly of, who behind closed doors is undermining you, sharing your personal struggles or mistakes with others, all while pretending to be supportive to your face. When people gossip about you, it's not just idle chatter. It's a reflection of their character and their insecurities. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When you discover that someone has been gossiping about you, it's tempting to retaliate, to defend yourself, or even to spread rumors about them in return. But remember, Stoicism teaches us to rise above petty behavior, and instead focus on what we can control, our own actions, our own integrity. Now, gossip isn't always as obvious as a whisper behind your back. It can be subtle, disguised as concern or curiosity. A colleague might say, "I heard he's having trouble at home," or, "Did you know she didn't get the promotion because she's struggling?" These remarks often get framed as if they're meant to help or inform, but they are nothing more than toxic seeds planted to damage your reputation or make you question yourself. And what's worse is when it comes from people you consider friends. It's easy to expect gossip from casual acquaintances or people you're not close with, but when it's someone within your circle, it feels like a deeper betrayal. Have you ever experienced the pain of hearing something untrue about yourself from someone you trusted? How did it make you feel? And more importantly, how did you respond? The Stoics teach us that we cannot control the actions or words of others, but we can control how we respond. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." So, when you find out someone is gossiping about you, don't let it destroy your peace of mind. Gossip often says more about the person spreading it than the subject it's aimed at. People who gossip are usually insecure and use it as a way to divert attention from their own flaws or shortcomings. When someone talks behind your back, they're revealing their true colors, not yours. This is a crucial point to remember. It's not your job to chase down every rumor or defend yourself against every whisper. Instead, maintain your integrity and let your actions speak louder than any gossip ever could. In modern life, gossip spreads faster than ever, thanks to social media and constant digital communication. It's easy for rumors to start, and even easier for them to grow and spread without your knowledge. Maybe you've seen this in your workplace, where a single misunderstanding spirals into a full-blown narrative about your performance or personal life. Or perhaps within social circles, where one offhand comment turns into a story that paints you in a negative light. The temptation is always to confront the gossiper, to clear your name. But here's the thing. Gossipers thrive on attention. They want to know that their words have power over you. As Seneca wisely put it, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." In many cases, silence is the most powerful response. By refusing to engage with the drama, you take away the fuel that gossipers rely on. They want a reaction. They want conflict. By not giving it to them, you assert control over the situation. Think about the times in your life when someone gossiped about you. Did the rumors ultimately define who you were, or did your actions and character speak for themselves? Gossip is like a shadow. It follows you but can never truly harm you unless you let it. The Stoic approach is to recognize gossip for what it is, a distraction. The people who matter in your life, whether it's your friends, family, or trusted colleagues, won't be swayed by idle chatter. They know your character and your values, and that's what will stand the test of time. So instead of wasting energy worrying about what others are saying, focus on living your life in alignment with your principles. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." However, just because we choose not to engage with gossip doesn't mean we ignore the harm it can do. If someone is gossiping about you, especially in a professional setting, it's important to protect your reputation with actions, not words. Continue to be reliable, maintain your work ethic, and let your results speak for themselves. Over time, people will see the truth, and the gossip will lose its power. Have you ever wondered why some people feel the need to spread rumors? It often comes from a place of jealousy, envy, or fear. They see something in you, success, confidence, or potential, that they lack, and instead of working on themselves, they choose to tear you down. Recognizing this can help you understand that gossip isn't about you at all. It's about them. One story that illustrates this comes from a friend of mine who worked in a competitive corporate environment. He was excelling in his role, but behind the scenes, a coworker began spreading false rumors about his work ethic and even personal life. At first, it was devastating, hearing that people were questioning his integrity, but instead of confronting the coworker or getting caught up in the gossip, he doubled down on his work, ensuring that his performance was beyond reproach. Over time, the rumors faded, and his reputation remained intact because his actions spoke louder than any gossip ever could. This is the lesson we all need to remember. What others say about you doesn't define you. How you choose to live your life does. So, what's the lesson here? When people gossip about you behind your back, they're revealing their own insecurities and weaknesses, not yours. The Stoic response is not to retaliate, not to engage, but to rise above it. Focus on your own path. Maintain your integrity, and let your actions speak for themselves. Gossip may be hurtful in the moment, but it will never have the lasting impact that your character and behavior will. In the end, people will remember how you handled yourself with grace, not the words of someone too afraid to speak to you directly. As Epictetus said, "If evil be spoken of you and it be true, correct yourself. If it is a lie, laugh at it." Let this wisdom guide you the next time you encounter gossip, and remember that your worth is not defined by the words of others, but by how you choose to live. As we've explored in this video, recognizing the subtle signs that someone dislikes you but is hiding it is not just about identifying toxic behaviors. It's about protecting your own mental well-being and fostering relationships that genuinely uplift you. By applying the principles of Stoicism to your daily life, you can develop the emotional strength to distance yourself from negative influences, set clear boundaries, and focus on building meaningful connections that bring you happiness and growth. Remember, the people who matter in your life are those who support you and encourage your personal development. Are you surrounding yourself with individuals who inspire you to be the best version of yourself? Or are you holding on to relationships that drain your energy? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your experiences with these subtle signs. Have you encountered them before? And how did you handle them? If you found this video insightful, please give it a like and share it with others who may benefit from this wisdom. And don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life to stay updated on more valuable content around Stoic philosophy and practical life lessons. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upcoming video. Remember, your peace of mind is priceless, and living in alignment with Stoic principles will guide you to a life of purpose, resilience, and true happiness. Stay strong, stay Stoic.